I wanted to talk about winemaking. And we all have, the basics down, right? You get some grapes, you squeeze the juice, you add some yeast, and the yeast turns the sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. But how do you make wine red? How do you make it rosé? How do you make orange wine? These are questions that come up. So let's take the simplest one first, white wine. So white wine, you're going to use white grapes, right? Grapes that have a green or gold skin. And so the wine ends up without any color, right? It's just kind of a yellowish color. Because what they do is they take these white grapes, they press them, and they take the juice, and they add the yeast to the juice, and they ferment that juice into wine. So what happens to the skins? They just discard them. So this is quite different than when you make red wine. For red wine, you need those skins because the skins are where the color comes from. If you squeeze red grapes, the juice is clear. And you can tell that if you've ever had a Blanc de Noir champagne or sparkling wine, which you might have seen. Those wines are white wines made from the juice of red grapes because they don't let the skins give the juice any color. And actually most champagnes are made from a mix of white and red grapes, even though champagnes for the most part don't have any color. For rosé champagne, they actually blend in some red wine into the already fermented white wine. So that's a little something unique. But for red grapes, what you have to do is you have to crush the grapes so the juice starts to flow. And this was something that, we've all seen in the past, the people stomping the grapes, right? So the grape stomping was the original way that red grapes would get crushed so that the juices flow and that the skins macerate with the juice and start to give it some color. So you've got this mass of grape juice and grape skins that has to sit together for a while for the juice to take on that color. And then of course the yeast creates the fermentation, and that's where you get the alcohol. So slightly different process. With the white grapes, you have to take the grapes off of the stems first, of course, and that can be a very tedious process if you're doing it manually. They have machines now that will sort of roll these grape bunches around and sort of drop the grapes into a press, and then they press them. So with red wine, they also do a press, but that press doesn't happen until after the wine has already fermented. So the grape skins and the juice macerate and ferment in the tanks. And then they'll drain off the juice, and that's known as the free run. And then they'll take what's left of the skins and they'll put it in a press and they'll squeeze that. And depending on the wine, or what kind of wine they want to make, they'll add that back in. Sometimes they'll add a little in, sometimes they'll add it all in, or sometimes they won't add any of it in, and they'll just make the wine using the free run. So, rosé wine can be made in a couple of ways, but they're made primarily from red grapes. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you can make white wine out of red grapes by just squeezing the grapes, taking the juice, and fermenting it. For rosé, what you will normally do is let those skins soak in the juice for a short period of time until the wine just has that little nice pink color. And then you drain it off and you finish the fermentation. So then you have a rosé wine. The other way that they make rosé is, so they have a tank that they're making red wine from. And so you've got skins and you've got juice, and it's all macerating And maybe you want the wine to be a little more concentrated. So you'll drain off some of the juice while it's still fermenting. And you'll take that juice and you'll ferment it separately. And that will make another way to make a rosé wine. So then there's something which has become kind of popular now. It's called orange wine. So orange wine, even though it has color, it's not made from red grapes. It's made from white grapes where the skins have a little bit of color. So for instance, Pinot Grigio is a pretty popular grape for making orange wine. And basically what they do is they make it as if they were making a red wine. So they crush the grapes and they let the grapes soak in the juice for a long period of time. And even though the grape skins don't have a lot of color, if you do a nice long maceration, whatever color is there seeps into the juice and you end up with something that's sort of orange in color, right? And it also gives the wine a little bit more tannin, a little bit more backbone, a little bit more body. So that's what's kind of unique about orange wines. So I hope you learned something, and thanks for listening.